Hi, I'm Holly Andrews, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach and Executive Wellness Coach. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the kitchen. This week I have for you an amazing breakfast treat. It feels so decadent, it feels like dessert, but you can have it for breakfast, you can have it for snack, you can have it for dinner. You choose, but it is definitely decadent and so tasty, and it only takes 5 minutes. I'm sure you're like, what is this magic? And it is my whipped cottage cheese smoothie bowl. Cottage cheese is all the rage. In fact, one of my most popular videos on the channel was the cottage cheese bowl recipe, 3 ways, that I did last year, and is continually one of the most viewed videos I've done. So I thought, why not do another cottage cheese video and give a little bit of an updated twist on it by whipping it into a smoothie bowl. Sometimes that texture of cottage cheese really turns people off, but by whipping it and blending it, you change the texture completely. And this smoothie bowl is so light, it's so airy, and it is so tasty and tons of protein. So let's talk about what's in this smoothie bowl, and then I'll show you how easy it was to throw together. Obviously, the base of this bowl is cottage cheese. So I'm using the Good Culture cottage cheese here. It is really high in protein, and it is made from all ingredients that you can pronounce, which I really like. I do want to touch on the fact that if you can't do dairy, which dairy can be inflammatory for some people, if you're using really high quality dairy products where the cows are pasture raised and there's no hormones, there's no added things to the cows, and you're getting a really good quality dairy product, then a lot of people actually can do dairy and it doesn't cause inflammatory issues. However, dairy does cause inflammation for some people, in fact a lot of people. So if you are one of those people, feel free to substitute this cottage cheese with something else. You could do a tofu cottage cheese, or you could do even a yogurt that is either coconut milk or almond milk or some other form. You might not quite get the whipped, airy, light texture that this smoothie bowl produces, but it is definitely a good substitute. So with this Good Culture cottage cheese in this bowl and everything else that was with it, we're getting over 40 grams of protein in this breakfast, in this smoothie bowl. So if you are somebody that tends to run on caffeine, skip breakfast, and then wonder why you're crashing later in the day, wonder why you're craving things later in the day, that you're craving the sugar, you're craving the carbs, it's because you haven't started your day off with enough protein. So this bowl definitely satisfies that and meets that need. So try it and see what a difference that getting this much protein first thing in the day does for your body and your mind, and see how your day goes. So that's it on the cottage cheese, but it is full of calcium as well, so you're getting that. So it's just a really good source as long as you're using high quality cottage cheese. Second of all, we've got protein powder, which I forgot to add in the protein powder when I initially blended this up, but I did add it in. So there is protein, there's a scoop of protein powder. So between the cottage cheese and the protein powder, lots and lots of protein in this bowl. Now I used a vanilla, you could use a chocolate to switch it up. That would be really good as well, especially since there's some cinnamon in here to help with blood sugar stabilization. That cinnamon and that chocolate would go really well together. So up to you, but I used vanilla protein powder. I also used coconut cream. I had some coconut cream left over from last week's blackberry mousse recipe, so I thought that would be a great ingredient to get some of those healthy fats, those medium chain triglycerides in there. And so I used 2 tablespoons of coconut cream, also to give it some extra creamy texture as well. And for sweetness, I threw in 1 pitted Medjool date. Now I went this way because I didn't really want to add a lot of liquid, and that Medjool date won't spike blood sugar like other sweeteners might, and it adds some fiber. So Medjool dates are a great option if you're looking for something to sweeten and also add fiber. And speaking of fiber, I've also got a tablespoon of basil seeds in here. Now, I love basil seeds. They are very high in fiber. I soaked these basil seeds ahead of time just for it really took like 2 minutes for the basil seeds to absorb. So 1 tablespoon of basil seeds to 2 tablespoons of water. It literally took 2 minutes for those basil seeds to soak up that water. I did that just to make sure that they blended in really nicely to the smoothie bowl. Normally I will just throw in my dry basil seeds into a smoothie or something just for time's sake, but this only took 5 minutes anyway, even soaking the basil seeds, so I went ahead and did that. Finally, we've got zucchini. So I had some frozen zucchini, and you're like, zucchini in a smoothie bowl? What in the world? Well, this helps add bulk to the smoothie bowl without changing the flavor profile. So I had some frozen zucchini, I threw them in, and so you're getting the goodness of the zucchini there with that extra fiber. If you don't have frozen zucchini, you could also use frozen cauliflower rice. It will perform the same function, adding bulk, adding fiber without adding or changing the taste, I should say. So I added half a cup of sliced zucchini. It blended up really well. You cannot tell it's in there. And I added half a cup of frozen strawberries. Now we are a little bit past peak strawberry season, and I've used up all my strawberries that I bought and froze from the farmer's market. So I did use frozen strawberries here. However, you could use whatever fruit you have. I would recommend doing it frozen just to make sure the smoothie bowl stays nice and cold. But peaches are in season, blackberries are in season, blueberries are still in season depending on where you are. So there's plenty of seasonal fruit options. I wanted to top this bowl with blueberries. I could have done the blueberries in the base itself, but I just chose to use the strawberries. So use whatever fruit you've got, preferably something that's low glycemic, so a berry type thing. You could also do some peaches, but you know, it's got plenty of carbs in this recipe, so you're getting a nice balance. So choose something low glycemic so you're not getting that blood sugar spike. But that's all of the wonderful, wonderful ingredients. We'll talk about toppings. Toppings, you can do all kinds of toppings with this. As you'll see, I chose to top it with fresh blueberries, some pumpkin seeds for that zinc and magnesium, and they're unsweetened coconut flakes, but they give it a nice texture. You can top it with hemp seeds if you want to add some iron in, other types of fruits, other nuts. You could do nuts, so pecans or walnuts. I mean, I've got lots of different options in the blog post where the recipe is, so be sure to check that out. But let's talk about throwing it all together. So it doesn't get any simpler. I took my smoothie blender and I added all of the ingredients right into the smoothie cup and then stuck it on my blender. So the cottage cheese went straight in, the coconut cream went straight in, the zucchini, the strawberries, the medjool date, the cinnamon, the basil seeds, and then like I said, I forgot about the protein powder, but I did add that in at the end off camera. So it's all in there. All the ingredients, just throw it in your smoothie cup or your blender of some sort. And then I added probably 2 tablespoons of unsweetened almond milk just to help the liquid. It was not blending very well, so I wanted to add a little bit more liquid in. You could use water or any other milk that you choose. I went with the unsweetened almond milk. So probably I call it 2 or 3 splashes, so maybe 2 tablespoons total, and then just hit the smoothie button on my smoothie blender. Otherwise, use whatever blender option you have and blend until it's blended up. And that literally took 3 minutes to throw together. And then I topped it with my blueberries, my pumpkin seeds, and my coconut flakes. And so here is the finished product. And guys, this tastes amazing. Like, it is so light and so airy, and it looks like a lot, right? But you could sit down and eat 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, no problem. It's just now whipped and the texture is totally different and changed, and it's got the perfect amount of sweetness to it. And I am excited to have this. So that is today's recipe. I hope you enjoy this twist on a cottage cheese recipe. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy it. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram for additional stress and cortisol related tips and thoughts and wellness tips. Also, grab the link below, get on my email list. I send out an email, once or twice a week with additional information that is just for my email subscribers. So be sure to sign up for that. And then definitely grab the recipe from the blog post linked below and let me know how you enjoy this. Let me know what toppings you put on it, because everybody's different and I love seeing the creativity that comes out in these kinds of recipes. Finally, if you haven't grabbed my book, Heal Your Stress from the Inside Out, grab that. It is full of my story of healing from stress, how nutrition plays a role in that, as well as an outline to help you create a personal stress recovery roadmap. So check that link below as well. So until next time, I'm Holly Andrews, and I believe that you can heal your stress from the inside out.